Well, hello everyone. Welcome to the first Grand Prix review of 2025. The Australian Grand Prix has I say just finished. It finished about 12 hours ago. But my goodness me, what a chaotic race that was. There's a lot of talking points, and the way we're going to do this year is basically touch on like the small points and then the big talking point that I feel is worth talking about for the weekend. And like I said, there was probably about four or five that I wanted to sort of address. There's one that's potentially big that I want to talk about, which is potentially the Red Bull situation. But I want to be able to see a few more races to absolutely make sure of that. I think Liam Lawson, yes, had a struggle, but I want to see a few more races, see if that's a regular struggle that he's going to have before I do that video, is the best way of describing it. But let's take away the talking points that I feel like there were in the Australian Grand Prix. Firstly, I have to give my props. Lando Norris, you absolutely bossed it. Look, the car's good. McLaren is good, let's face it. But he had a measure of control that I don't think I've seen him do at all. Yes, he was able to do it when the title was pretty much over. So he did it in Abu Dhabi. He did it with Singapore when the pressure was off him, but the pressure was very much on him in that first race. Max Verstappen really was pushing. I think Lando Norris even had a slightly damaged underfloor. For instance, was it the perfect race? No, but Lando dealt with it perfectly. And what I mean by that is the fact that, yes, he had that excursion off the track, but it was a wet race. It came upon him as a surprise. He was the lead driver. He had the hard tyres on in the wet rain, and he kept it on the track. But also, maybe with a bit of Sochi 2021 PTSD vibes, he was very much on the race engineer going, you better put me on the intermediate tyres the minute it starts raining. And to be fair, he stuck to those guns. So really well done. I've got to tip my hat to Lando Norris. Really, really good stuff. Now on to the sort of the sad but also sweet moment, which was certainly this. Oh, my goodness me. Look, the rookies all had pretty much a struggle fest, and Isaac Hadjar was inconsolable. I felt it was a little bit unfair to have the camera on him as long as it was. But my goodness me, Anthony Hamilton is the GOAT of Formula One driver dads. The absolute GOAT. And I would not be surprised if there ends up being some sort of mini career for Anthony Hamilton after Lewis Hamilton retires, whenever that happens, that he ends up looking after like an academy, or he ends up looking, if I was whoever's looking after Ferrari, if I was Helmut Marko, if I was McLaren, if I was Alpine, I would be looking at Anthony Hamilton and going, if you want it, I'd love to see you heading an F2 team, heading an F3 team, maybe heading a development program, because the way he consoled Isaac Hadjar, and by the way, there was no distractions here, right? I think the race was just about to start. So Anthony, very well in his right mind, could have gone, I need to make sure my son, Lewis Hamilton, doesn't crash because it's the first day for him as well. But no, he was like, Lewis is okay. Isaac needs support right now. And especially the fact that Lewis Hamilton is Isaac's idol. To be quite honest, I don't care that Lewis Hamilton is Isaac Hadjar's hero. The way that Anthony Hamilton handled this was perfect. And I feel like he deserves to stay in the paddock even after Lewis Hamilton retires. My respect for Anthony Hamilton has gone through the roof following that. It was absolutely special to see. And like I say, a bit of a struggle for the rookies. Well, I say that, My goodness me, this guy was my driver of the day. I'm sorry, this guy was, and Andrea Kimi Antonelli was incredible. He qualified, I think, was it 12th, 14th, something like that? He was doing passes left, right, and centre. And the only penalty that he got was from his team doing an unsafe release. It very easily could have been a Mercedes 3-4. Kimi Antonelli absolutely bossed it. We know what he's like in terms of the wet, and I know that I've made comments about him that he'll either be really quick or he'll crash. And he was really quick, and fair play. There was a mature drive. He wasn't sending it down the inside, even if there was limited chance. I get the feeling we're seeing a very decent level of aggression, sort of like a Oscar Piastri type. Someone who, yes, has got a smile on his face, but yes, has got a bit of an aggression. The last small talking point I want to talk about was Ferrari comedy. What the hell was this? Now, I think I know what it means where it says, my seat is full of water, must be the water. I think he was talking about the water bottle. But my God, are the Ferrari engineers the thing that's holding Ferrari back? I don't know. Leclerc's obviously worked it out with his race engineer. I think it's Xavier Marcos, I think it is. Lewis Hamilton and Adami, I'm going to pass that off as they're getting used to each other. So I don't mind too much that Adami sounded a little bit not understanding what Lewis wanted. And I understand Lewis being a bit grumpy and grouchy. It's basically you've found your perfect significant other. You started dating them, you then move in together, and turns out that they do all the chores wrong. That's basically what we're talking about here. So I think give it a bit of time, that will improve. But Ferrari did struggle, and things like that. But I do think they were screwed over a little bit by something else. But I feel like that's a point that I need to talk about in a bit more serious detail than just, they screwed Ferrari over. And this is where the rage is going to happen. There's no picture that probably solidifies my rage more than this. This is not AI generated. This is not a video game. This genuinely happened where we had a safety car, a Formula One car, and a bloody pickup truck. What was the pickup truck there for? To pick up the cars that had spun off. I think this one was Fernando Alonso, I'm pretty sure. Going to touch on that later, by the way. But my goodness me. Why the hell did we not see a red flag? I'm going to put this simply, right? And I'm going to put this in the most positive way possible. FIA, if you're watching, I am formally submitting my application to be an F1 steward. I mean it. Because my goodness me, I could do a damn sight better than this. This is not smart. Any F1 fan who knows about the dangers has one simple rule in mind. When there is a big vehicle on the track, stop the race. And some people might be going, well, what's the danger? What's the harm? Well, here's the thing. It was a greasy track. We had guys who were basically doing their first proper race in a car. Now, yes, Isaac Hadjar had already spun off. Jack Doohan had already spun off. But we still had Bortoletto, who, by the way, later on spun off quite wildly. We still had Liam Lawson, who, by the way, later off spun off twice, quite wildly. And even Antonelli, even though he did well, he still spun. And Behrman, I mean, he's had a struggle fest. He spun the entire weekend. Are you really, seriously saying that these guys, with absolute certainty, are going to keep it on the track? Because if you are, then you're saying that these 6 rookies, or the 4 rookies that were still surviving, are better in wet conditions than Fernando Alonso and Carlos Sainz. Do you remember the times when we used to call Fernando Alonso the wet weather master? He still is. And he spun. Carlos Sainz, absolute master in the wet conditions. I'm pretty sure it was him that won in wet conditions in Singapore. He spun. And you're seriously suggesting that with a pickup truck on the track, that it was fine? Oh, and by the way, throwing this out there as well, Fernando Alonso just casually walking down the sides as well. Now, I am trying to make a guess of how long it took for him to walk from the Formula One car to the area where he's basically going to be jumping over. But I'm going to guess it was about a minute. There would have probably been Formula One cars driving past around that sort of time. This is absolutely ridiculous. And there's a reason why I'm so passionate about this. There is a reason why this matters. Because this cannot happen again. We lost Jules Bianchi 15 years ago. Was it 15 or was it 13? I can't remember. But in the last decade. Because they didn't red flag a race while it was slippery conditions, while there was a big vehicle on the track. And as you can see by the right-hand side, this is not the only time it's happened, because again, was it 2 years ago? Pierre Gasly, again. If he'd have lost it, we'd have lost Gasly. But somehow, with 14 cars on the track, this was fine. This cannot happen. By the way, even the safety car knew the danger of it, because the safety car went off the track to pass him. Lando Norris didn't, because guess what? That would have wrecked his hard tyres. This is getting embarrassing now. And the thing that bothers me the most of all about all of this is that the FIA seems to have no perspective or self-reflection at all to go, how can we improve more? You might remember when I did a piece where I was having a rant against the FIA because they were focusing more on driver behaviour than the safety of drivers. This is what I'm talking about. After seeing Qatar last year, I'm actually not surprised that this happened again. And that's what's making me so angry about this. I don't get it. By the way, this wasn't an isolated incident. There were 4 recovery vehicles of this type on the track. And I'm talking about during the race. I'm not counting the one that picked up Isaac Hadjar's car, because the formation lap was aborted. So that was the smart move. But they did this for Jack Doohan. They did this for Liam Lawson. They did this for Carlos Sainz. Granted, they did go through the pit lane for Carlos Sainz, but even still, all it takes is for one F1 driver to lose it. And they did it for Alonso, and that's what contributes to this. This is a thing. This is one of those races where none of the drivers really have any bad reputations. right? As we've seen, the experienced spun off, the inexperienced spun off. Ultimately, you are a superhero if you finish the race, and if you didn't, don't worry about it. It was a one off bad incident. There is only one individual or one group that gets a 0 out of 10 for me for what has happened, and it is the FIA and the stewards. It boggles my mind just how little consideration is being put in for driver safety. And let me just throw this out there as well, right? Because we've all been sort of laughing at Ferrari's strategy and everything like that. Probably if the stewards had done their job, we'd have seen a red flag when Hamilton and Leclerc were in first and second. Were Ferrari banking on the fact that, oh my goodness me, recovery vehicle on the track, slippery conditions, this is going to be a red flag. Liam Lawson's car is half on the track, this has to be a red flag. And at no point did they pull it out. This is the thing for me. The Australian Grand Prix was an incredible race. Genuinely brilliant race. I loved it. It was worth waking up early in the morning for. But my God, the FIA, sort your crap out. It's not fair. Are we gonna seriously have to have an instant where a driver severely injures himself or loses their life because of your incompetence? Get real. No way. I won't stand for it. Sort it out. Now, here's the thing. That's the aggressive side of it, but our predictions of 2025 season being exciting is coming true. And that's good because we've got the Chinese Grand Prix next week. And that's also, from the UK standpoint, an early rise, 6 a.m. GMT. And I will be watching it. We will be doing a live watch along on Twitch. So that's twitch.tv/the ND Ninja. And we'll do another review, see what else we can glean from it. What are your thoughts on the Australian Grand Prix today? What are your thoughts on what has been quite an eventful one? There's probably things I haven't even considered. I'd love to know what you think. So pop your comments either in the chat or in the comments down below. And don't forget to like and subscribe so that you can keep up to date with all the big news that come out of the Grand Prix. Take care.